Java. In this session, you will learn to create and use Java subclasses, use constructors in subclasses, use super keyword in constructors. In an object-oriented language, such as Java, subclassing is used to define a new class in terms of an existing one. The existing class, from which the subclass inherits, is called superclass. For example, shapes is a superclass of circle, triangle and rectangle. The subclass inherits the non-private members of the superclass, shapes. The subclass can access all the non-private methods and variables of the superclass, shapes. You can define new methods and variables in the subclass to add more functionality to it. A subclass does not allow the new methods to be accessible to the objects of the superclass, shapes. You should use the extends keyword to inherit a subclass from a superclass. Creating a subclass enables to reduce redundant code from the application. You created a Java class to model the data and operations of an employee. Now, suppose you want to specialize the data and operations to describe a manager. The manager class shown here closely resembles the employee class, but with some specialization. A manager also has a department with a department name. As a result, there are likely to be additional operations as well. As shown in the image, the manager is an employee, but an employee with additional features. However, if Java classes were defined this way, there would be a lot of redundant coding. When an existing class is subclassed, the new class created is said to inherit the characteristics of the other class. This new class is called the subclass and is a specialization of the superclass. All of the non-private fields and methods from the superclass are part of the subclass. In the image, a manager class gets impid, name, SSN, salary, and all the public methods from the employee class. It is important to grasp that although manager specializes employee, a manager is still an employee. A Java subclass is the sum of itself and its parent. When you create an instance of a subclass, the resulting in-memory structure contains all codes from the parent class, grandparent class, and so on, all the way up the class hierarchy, until you reach the class object. Let us now implement the previous diagram in terms of programming. The keyword extends is used to create a subclass. The manager class, by extending the employee class, in other words inherits all of the non-private data fields and methods from employee class. If a manager is also an employee, then it follows that manager has all of the same attributes and operations of employee. Constructor declarations are not members, hence they are never inherited, and, therefore, are not subject to hiding or overriding. There are two ways to gain a constructor. Either you write your own constructor or use the default constructor. If you do not declare a constructor, a default no-argument constructor is provided for you. If you declare your own constructor, the default constructor is no longer provided. To construct an instance of a subclass, it is often easiest to call the constructor of the parent class. You can call a parent's constructor using super keyword. It must be the first statement of the constructor of the subclass. If it is not provided, a default call to super is inserted for you. The super keyword may also be used to invoke a parent's method or to access a parent's non-private field. In the previous example, the manager class declares its own constructor and calls the constructor of the parent class, using the super keyword as shown here. Creating a manager object is the same as creating an employee object. Even though the manager.java file does not contain all of the methods from the employee.java class, explicitly, they are included in the definition of the object. Thus, after you create an instance of a manager object, you can use the methods declared in employee class. You can also call methods that are specific to the manager class. In the image, The getDepName method belongs to the manager class, so you can directly call this method through the manager object. In this session, you learned that subclassing is used to define a new class in terms of an existing one. Constructors are not inherited. The super keyword is used to call the constructor of the parent class. Thank you and